Deterrence AI, the leading blog in proactive security.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. It's 2025, and keeping our homes and businesses safe and secure, it's becoming more important than ever, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the crazy thing is there's just so many options out there. It can be, I don't know about you, but it can be overwhelming to me, trying to figure out where to even start. So in this deep dive, we're going to cut through all the noise and really try to get down to the core of what matters when you're thinking about deterrent security.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so easy to just get lost in all the different features and the marketing hype.
Totally.
And that's why we're here to help you make sense of it all. Our mission is to give you a clear understanding of what actually deters criminals, not just, what sounds cool in an advertisement.
Exactly. So we want to understand what's really stopping these potential intruders in their tracks before they even think about doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what we're going to be diving into today. We're going to be looking at the different types of deterrents out there, exploring this kind of practical step-by-step guide, how to choose the right security for your needs.
Yeah, and it's not just about reacting after something happens. It's being proactive and trying to prevent it from ever happening in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all this comes down to deterrence, right?
That's right.
And the whole idea behind this is not necessarily building like an impenetrable fortress.
Right.
It's about making your home or business a less appealing target.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of shifting that risk-reward calculation that a potential criminal is making.
Exactly.
So how do we do that? Like, what are the key things that make a security deterrent truly effective in your experience?
Well, our guide outlines these 5 key factors.
Okay.
And the first one, often the simplest one, is just visibility.
Okay.
Just think about it, You see the camera that's clearly visible. You see a sign that says, alarm system. It just sends a strong message, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That this property is protected.
It's like, don't even try it.
Right, exactly. The simplest, most effective deterrent, it can be just making your property less appealing to a criminal by how secure it looks.
It's like a big do not enter sign, right?
Yeah, it's
Like, go somewhere else. Don't bother with me. Okay, so visibility is number one. What's next?
The second factor is the perceived risk of detection. If someone, thinking about breaking in, if they believe there's a good chance they'll be caught, they're much less likely to even try it.
Right. So it's all about that. You said perceived risk, right?
Yeah.
So it's about creating that impression that if I try to do something stupid here, the chances of me getting caught are pretty high.
Exactly. And that's where things like, visible alarms come in. Well-placed security cameras that are obvious. It's not just seeing them.
Oh.
It's believing those cameras will actually lead to them getting caught.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And that leads into the third factor, immediacy and certainty of response. So a deterrent becomes even more effective if there's a high probability of a swift reaction if something does happen.
Right.
And this is where, monitored alarm systems come in, cameras with two-way audio that allow for immediate intervention.
Right.
It's not just, the idea of an alarm going off. It's someone's watching and they're going to do something about it.
Right. And those two things are very different in a criminal's mind, right?
Okay.
If an alarm is going off and no one's responding to it, it's like, okay, it's annoying, but I have a little more time to get out of here.
Yeah.
But if someone's actually saying something,
Yeah.
that's a different story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That ups the ante.
Right.
The fourth factor is effort required.
Yeah.
So the more difficult you make it, physically or technically, to bypass your security measures, the greater the deterrent effect.
It's all about the effort, right?
Exactly. So, strong locks, reinforced doors and windows, good cybersecurity protocols. Criminals, they look for the easiest targets.
Right.
If you make it hard, they'll just move on to somebody else.
So the path of least resistance is often the path of the criminal.
Exactly.
Okay, so effort, big one.
And the fifth factor is technological advancement. So artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah, AI. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. It's really changing the game in the security landscape.
It's everywhere these days.
Oh, yeah. So AI is being integrated into these systems to proactively deter threats. Things like automated warnings,
Okay.
intelligent analysis of activity.
Okay, so it's like the security system itself is getting smarter.
Exactly. It's not just a passive system anymore. It's
Right.
actively learning.
It's a thing for itself almost.
Right.
Okay, so just to recap those 5 factors for everyone. Visibility, perceived risk of detection, immediacy and certainty of response, the effort required, and technological advancement with AI. So let's talk about the actual products, the tech that's really leveraging all of these factors in 2025? Like, what are the main things that we should be looking at and thinking about?
So in 2025, you've got a whole range of options. Alarms, both traditional and the newer smart systems. You have security cameras with all sorts of deterrent features built in now. Smart locks, perimeter security, dedicated AI-powered tech that's really just for prevention. Lighting systems, barriers, even just good old security signage.
Okay. I mean, that's a lot to think about, but let's start with something that's been around for a while. Alarms. We're all kind of familiar with them in some way.
Yeah.
How are the traditional alarms different from the smart ones?
Well, traditional alarms, they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Sensors connected to a siren, right?
Yeah.
So someone tries to force a door or window open, the siren goes off, hopefully scares the intruder away.
Right, just makes a lot of noise.
Exactly. And, studies have shown that just having an alarm system, even a basic one, can reduce the likelihood of a break-in.
It just makes people think twice.
Exactly.
Okay, so loud noise, someone might hear it. That's the basic idea.
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
Simple. Now, smart alarms, how are they different? How do they build on that?
Smart alarms take that basic idea, and they add a bunch of cool tech.
Okay.
So they often use wireless sensors, right? Makes them easier to install,
Oh, that's great.
more flexible, and they connect to your smartphone.
Yeah, everything's on your phone these days.
Exactly. So you can arm and disarm your system remotely.
Okay.
You get instant notifications if a sensor's triggered.
Oh, that's good.
Activity logs.
Yeah.
So you can see, when a door was opened or closed.
Right,
And that's the key, right? It's that remote awareness
right.
increases the risk for the intruder.
They never know if you're actually there or not.
Exactly. They don't
Okay.
know if someone's watching. And a lot of these systems can integrate with other smart home devices like lights, locks.
Okay.
So you can automate responses if the alarm goes off.
So like if the alarm goes off, all the lights come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then some of them offer professional monitoring.
Okay.
So a security company is actually watching your system 24/7. And they can dispatch the police or fire department if needed.
So it's like you have a security guard even if you're not home.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty cool, but that probably adds a whole nother layer of cost, right?
It does. That's the trade-off you have to consider. And you also have self-monitoring options, which are more budget-friendly, but you're the one who has to respond to the alerts.
You're your own security guard in a way.
Exactly.
Okay.
And smart alarms also use AI now to reduce false alarms.
Oh, that's great because false alarms are the worst.
Oh, yeah, especially if you have pets.
Exactly. Exactly.
So AI can learn your patterns.
Right.
You can figure out what's normal, what's not normal, and reduce those annoying false alarms. So, when you're choosing alarms, it's about balancing cost with the features and the level of response that you need.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So that's alarms. Let's talk about security cameras because they're everywhere these days.
Oh.
But it feels like they're doing a lot more than they used to. It's not just recording anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. They're not just passive observers anymore. They're active deterrents now. Just the presence of a camera, especially one that's well lit and visible.
So you want people to see the cameras.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sends a message, this area is being watched.
Right.
And many cameras have motion-activated spotlights now.
Oh.
Startle intruders, improve the recording quality, so you get a good picture of who's out there. Integrated sirens, too.
Okay.
Loud noise, scares people off.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then two-way talk.
Okay.
That's a really cool one.
Yeah, because I've seen those.
Yeah.
So you can actually talk to someone through the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can warn them off. Or if it's just a delivery person, you can say, hey, just leave the package at the door.
Okay, so you can almost be there without being there.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
And then on top of all of that, you have AI being built into these cameras.
Right, because we can't talk about tech in 2025 without talking about AI. Yeah.
Right. AI is changing everything.
Yeah.
So you have things like object detection, right?
Okay.
The camera can tell the difference between a person, a car, an animal, a package.
Okay.
So you're not getting alerts every time a squirrel runs by.
Right.
Then you have person detection, which just focuses on people.
Okay.
And then you have facial recognition.
Okay.
There are privacy issues to consider there.
Right. Always important to think about the privacy implications.
Exactly. And of course, you have to be aware of Australian law.
Absolutely.
But one of the most direct deterrent applications of AI is in the automated warnings.
Okay.
So the camera can actually say something like, you are trespassing, this area is under surveillance.
Oh, wow. That's kind of creepy but cool at the same time.
Right. And it can be really effective.
Okay.
AI can also detect specific sounds, like glass breaking or a smoke alarm.
Okay. So it's getting smarter.
Oh, yeah.
It's listening, it's watching. It's almost like having a security guard built right into your camera.
Exactly, exactly. So when you're looking at cameras, focus on the ones that have those active features.
Okay.
The lights, the sirens, the two-way audio, the
Right.
AI.
Right.
That's where you get the real deterrent value.
Okay. So cameras are getting more sophisticated,
Mm.
more proactive. Let's talk about smart locks, because that's another area where I think things have really changed in recent years.
Oh, yeah. Smart locks are more than just convenience now.
Okay.
They're real security deterrents. Keyless entry,
Yeah.
keypads, smartphone apps, fobs, no more physical keys to lose or get copied.
Right.
And you can create temporary codes
Oh, that's great.
for guests or service people.
That's super handy.
You can lock and unlock your doors remotely,
Okay.
check activity logs.
Right.
Some even have biometric entry, like fingerprint or facial recognition.
That sounds so high tech.
It is. It's super secure. And many of them have tamper alerts, too.
Okay.
So if someone tries to mess with the lock, you'll get an alert. And they can integrate with other smart home systems, like your alarm system.
So it's all connected.
Exactly.
Right.
And even just the look of a smart lock
Right.
can be a deterrent. It just looks more secure than a regular deadbolt. Of course, cost is always a factor. And, they do rely on power and a good internet connection.
Right.
So those are things to consider.
Okay.
But overall, smart locks are a great way to enhance both your security and your convenience.
So it's not just about ease of use anymore.
Right. It's about creating a more secure environment.
Okay, so we've talked about alarms, cameras, smart locks. Now let's think about the outside of a property, like that kind of first line of defense, that perimeter security. What are we talking about there?
So perimeter security is about stopping intruders before they even get close to your building.
Right.
One basic thing is motion-activated lighting.
Okay.
Gets rid of hiding spots.
Yeah.
It can surprise someone who's sneaking around.
Right.
And you can get solar-powered ones, which are great if you don't want to run wiring.
Okay, so that's a good option for people who maybe don't want to do a whole big installation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then you have physical barriers.
Okay.
Fences, walls.
Right?
Clearly define your property boundaries.
It's like, this is my space, don't come in.
Exactly. And the height, the material, how they're designed,
Okay.
all of that affects how effective they are at deterring people.
Right.
Gates are another big one, especially if they're automated.
Okay.
And you can even use things like bollards to stop vehicles,
Right.
and even something as simple as planting thorny bushes.
Okay, so make it physically harder to get in.
Exactly. And then you get into the more advanced systems, the perimeter intrusion detection systems, or PIDs.
Okay.
These use all sorts of cool tech, like infrared beams, microwave sensors, fence sensors, buried cable sensors.
Wow, I didn't even know those existed.
They're pretty amazing. And you have AI video analytics, too. So the system can tell if someone's crossing a certain line or if they're just hanging around suspiciously.
So it's like having an invisible fence almost.
Exactly. And the guide also talks about LoRa-based sensors, which are really cost-effective for large properties like farms or industrial sites.
Okay.
They use very little power and they have a really long range.
Okay.
So you don't have to run wires everywhere.
Right, so that could be huge cost saving.
Exactly.
Right.
Even a simple driveway alarm can be a good early warning system.
Okay.
So perimeter security, it's all about making it harder for an intruder to even get close.
Okay, so we've talked about the main categories of security stuff, but you mentioned earlier that there's these AI-powered things that are kind of separate from the cameras and the alarms. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting. We're talking about AI systems that are built just for deterrence.
Okay.
So one example is AI audio warnings. These systems can actually analyze what's happening and then give specific warnings. So instead of just a generic, "you're trespassing" message,
Right.
they can say something like, "the person in the blue jacket, step away from the car."
Oh, so it's like it's targeting a specific individual.
Exactly.
Okay.
The guide mentions Alarm.com's aid system as an example.
Okay.
And then there's AI-powered light shows.
Right.
Instead of just a floodlight turning on, you can have these complex patterns of flashing lights, changing colors that can really disorient someone.
Oh, so it's not just about lighting up an area. It's almost like a psychological deterrent.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
And then you have things like predictive analytics. So AI can analyze past data and real-time information to predict where and when security incidents are more likely to happen.
So it's kind of like predicting crime hotspots.
Exactly. Exactly. And that lets security teams focus their efforts where they're needed most.
Okay.
We're also seeing drone deterrence, drones that can automatically go and check out an alert or provide surveillance. Okay.
And some even have spotlights or can emit warning sounds.
Wow, so the drones are now becoming part of the security system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's behavioral anomaly detection, which is super interesting. AI systems can learn the normal patterns of activity in an area.
Okay.
And then, if something unusual happens, something that deviates from that pattern, it can trigger an alert.
Okay.
So it might be an early sign that someone's planning something.
Okay.
Right. So these dedicated AI solutions, they're really cutting edge and they're constantly evolving. It's really exciting to see what they come up with next.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're moving more and more toward this AI-powered proactive security future.
Absolutely.
Okay, so with all these options out there, it can be kind of confusing, right? Like, how do you choose the right thing for your situation? The guide has this 7-step process for choosing the right security solutions.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great way to make sure you're making informed choices. So the first step is assess your risks and needs.
Okay.
So this means figuring out what are the most likely threats that you face.
Okay.
Is it burglary? Is it vandalism? If you're a business, is it cyber attacks?
Right. Right.
Look at local crime statistics. What's happening in your area?
Okay.
Think about your property, the type of building you have. And then, identify your vulnerabilities.
Okay.
What are the easy access points? Are there areas with poor lighting? Do you have an unsecured network? Any assets that are particularly vulnerable.
Okay.
And then define your objectives. What do you want your security system to do? Do you want to prevent intrusion? Do you want to deter shoplifting? Do you want to protect data? Do you want to ensure the safety of people on your property?
Right. So be clear about what you actually want to accomplish. It's about your specific situation.
Exactly. Step 2 is understanding those key deterrence factors.
Okay.
Visibility, perceived risk, response, effort.
The ones we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How can you maximize those factors in your specific context?
And the guide really emphasizes the certainty of detection.
Okay.
Make sure that if someone tries something, they will be caught. That's a really strong deterrent.
Okay, so reinforce those principles of deterrence. Step 3.
Step 3 is explore the different product types.
Okay.
So spend some time learning about alarms, cameras, locks, perimeter systems, the dedicated AI technologies.
Right, all the stuff we've been talking about.
Exactly. What are their strengths and weaknesses? What are their benefits and drawbacks?
Okay.
How do they work? It's really about doing your research.
Okay, so you really got to dig in and figure out what's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Step 4 is consider your environment.
Okay.
Is it residential or commercial? Urban or rural?
Right.
What's the lighting like?
Okay.
Do you have reliable power? Good internet connectivity? These factors will really affect what technologies are practical for you.
Right, so your location and your specific situation really matters.
Absolutely. Step 5 is set a realistic budget. How much can you afford to spend? Not just on the upfront costs, but on any ongoing costs, like monitoring fees or subscriptions.
Right, because those can really add up over time.
Oh, yeah. And you want to find that balance between the protection you need and what you can afford.
Right, so set that budget and stick to it. Step 6.
Step 6 is evaluate key features and integration.
Okay.
When you're comparing products, look for the features that address your specific risks.
Right.
And think about how different products can work together. Check for compatibility.
So you want to create a system, not just a bunch of random gadgets.
Exactly. You want everything to work together seamlessly. And finally, step 7, research brands and seek reviews.
Okay.
Look for reputable companies, brands with a good track record. Read independent reviews.
Right.
See what other people are saying.
Right.
And look at the customer support offered by the vendor.
Right, because you want to know that if you have a problem, they're going to be there to help you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so do your research, find reputable companies, and look for those reviews. That's great advice. The guide also provides some examples of top brands in Australia for 2025.
Yeah.
Can you share a few examples just to kind of give us a starting point?
Yeah, absolutely. So for smart alarms in Australia, Deterrence is a great option, especially for their LoRa-based technology.
Okay.
It's really good for large properties.
Okay.
SimpliSafe and Ring Alarm are popular choices for their DIY installation and their monitoring services. Bosch Solution Series and DSC are well-regarded brands. They're often used in professional installations. And there's also a lot of great local security companies across Australia that offer custom solutions.
Okay, so there's a lot of good options out there. What about security cameras? What are some of the brands with those active features that we've been talking about?
So for cameras with deterrent features, Ring and Arlo are really well known. They have a wide range of cameras, video doorbells, spotlights, sirens,
Wow.
two-way audio. Google Nest cameras are also really popular.
Yeah.
They have great AI features. Swan is an Australian company that offers a lot of different security products.
You're right.
Hikvision and Dahua are big global brands. Their products are often used in businesses and commercial settings.
Okay.
But there have been some discussions about, their use in certain contexts. And then UFi is another popular brand.
Yep.
People like them because they offer local storage options.
Right.
So you can avoid those monthly subscription fees.
Okay.
So there's a lot of choices out there for cameras.
So how about smart locks? Who are the big players in Australia?
So for smart locks, Lockwood is a major Australian brand.
Okay.
Samsung offers digital door locks with keypads, fingerprint scanners. Yale has a really wide range of smart locks, including ones that work with alarm systems.
Mm-hmm.
August and Schlage are popular international brands. They're
Cool.
also available in Australia. But, regardless of the brand, always do your research, read reviews, check the warranty, the customer support, and make sure it works with your other smart home stuff.
Right. Compatibility is really important. So you want to make sure everything works together. Now, what about people who are on a budget? Are there still good options for them? Can you still get good security without spending a fortune?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You don't have to break the bank to get good security.
Okay, that's good to know.
There's a lot of affordable options that can be really effective.
Okay, like what?
So improve your lighting. Even just adding some motion-activated floodlights, especially solar-powered ones, can make a big difference.
Okay.
Security signage, even if you don't have a full-blown system.
Right.
Just having a sign that says, alarm system or CCTV can deter some people.
Just plant that seed of doubt in their mind.
Exactly.
Yep.
Dummy cameras, they're not as effective as real ones, but they can still be a deterrent for some people.
Right.
Reinforce your doors and windows. Upgrade those strike plates, maybe add some security film.
Okay.
If you have sliding doors, maybe put some bars on them. Basic contact sensors, small alarms, the ones that make a loud noise if someone tries to break in.
Okay.
Those are really affordable. Neighborhood watch, that costs nothing.
Right.
And it's a great way to increase community awareness and keep an eye on each other's properties. Landscaping, trim those bushes, those trees.
Get rid of those hiding spots.
Exactly. And use good visible padlocks.
Okay.
On your gates, your sheds.
Right.
Just show people that you're taking security seriously.
It's about sending that message.
Exactly. And by combining a few of these simple, low-cost measures, you can create a really effective security strategy.
Okay, so you don't have to spend a fortune. You can still get decent protection. Now, once you've chosen your stuff, obviously you have to install it correctly. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, installation is super important.
Yeah.
If it's not installed correctly, it's not going to work properly.
Right.
So for cameras, think about placement. You want them high enough to be out of reach, but low enough to get a good view.
Okay. Yeah.
Cover all those entry points.
Okay.
Think about the lighting. Don't point them directly into the sun.
Right.
And, be mindful of privacy concerns.
Okay.
Make sure you have a reliable power source and a good internet connection. For motion sensor lights, put them where they'll cover likely approach paths. Adjust the sensitivity.
Okay.
If you're using multiple lights, try to overlap their coverage. For alarm sensors on doors and windows, make sure they're close together.
Okay.
For motion detectors, corner placement is usually best.
Yeah.
Don't point them at heat sources or things that move a lot, like curtains.
Right.
Head immune detectors are great if you have furry friends.
Okay.
And smart locks can be a little tricky to install, so definitely read the instructions carefully.
Right.
Make sure everything's aligned, it's secure. You set up the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth correctly and change those default codes.
Right. Security first.
Absolutely. And as a general rule, always read the instructions, test everything after you install it.
Okay.
And if you're not sure about something, get a professional to do it.
Yeah, don't be afraid to call in the experts.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, it's important to be realistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no security system is perfect.
Right.
So what are some of the limitations of deterrence? Like, what are some things they can't guarantee?
So deterrents, they're not foolproof.
Right.
A really determined criminal, someone who's really planned things out, they might still be able to get past your security.
Right.
Deterrents are really best for those opportunistic criminals, the ones who are just looking for an easy target.
Okay.
False alarms can be a problem.
Yeah.
They can be annoying. And in some places, you might even get fined for too many false alarms.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of these systems rely on power and internet.
Right.
So if the power goes out or your internet goes down, you're vulnerable.
Okay.
Cost is always a factor, too. Good security can be expensive.
Okay.
And surveillance cameras can raise privacy issues.
All right. Always important to think about that.
Yeah. Always be aware of the laws. And then there's what's called security theater.
Okay.
Things that look impressive but don't really do much.
Right.
So you want to make sure you're investing in things that actually work. And remember, deterrents are about prevention.
Right.
They don't